Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video we have a special video based on the assistant manager chip. And the main question we're going to answer in today's video is, when should you use the assistant manager chip? Should you use it now in Double Game Week 24 and have it activated for 24, 25 and 26, or should you delay it, use it in 31 so that you have it for the next double, which will be in Game Week 33, or activate it in Double Game Week 36 and have it till the end of the season? So we're going to answer all these questions in today's video. If you guys enjoy it, please do drop a like, please do subscribe as well. And we're going to start off with a couple of common questions that I received, because as you guys may have already found out, I am activating the assistant manager chip now in Double Game Week 24, and I've received lots of questions about it. So I'll start off with a couple of pointers, followed by the most important point just beside me here. So firstly, managers do not change in price. So say Arne's slot right now is 1.5 million. He will always be 1.5 million all the way until the end of the season. So they do not change in price. Next, if it does not work on your app, basically if you can't select a manager or you can't activate the assistant manager chip on your app, try updating your app. It likely is the case that it's not updated with the latest codes that include the assistant manager chip, right? So if that does not work, and I honestly do think like this is the best way forward, is actually to just use the desktop or the PC instead, just to be doubly sure that everything goes smoothly, right? So I would advise just going on to PC or desktop and logging into your FPL account if you wish to activate your assistant manager chip. Thirdly, you cannot have triple Liverpool and still pick Arne's slot. So basically, the 3 per team rule still applies. You cannot have Van Dijk, for example, plus Salah, and then Gakpo up front, and still pick Arne's slot, right? So essentially, you will only be able to pick 3 Liverpool players, and the rule applies also to the manager, right? And next, lastly, right, the table bonus only applies for teams playing the oppositions that are at least 5 places above them. So the magic number is 5 here. I've seen people say 3, say 4. 5 is the magic number. They have to be at least 5 places above for them to qualify for table bonus. And lastly, the most important point here right beside me is, once you activate the chip and you choose a assistant manager, you will need to spend a transfer if you wish to switch. So say for example, now I have it activated and I have Arne's slot as my assistant manager. If I wish to change it to someone like David Moyes, for example, then I need to spend a transfer. Do bear this in mind, because this is obviously important. You don't want to be spending transfers for no reason. Once you choose to activate your chip, that is it. All right, so there we go with some common questions. And for the rest of this video, the format is going to be pretty much a little bit more discussion based, simply because the assistant manager chip is pretty much new to us. A lot of people have different opinions, so I wanted to make a video where I shared different opinions from different people. So what I did was to go onto Instagram, go onto Twitter, and ask for different people's opinions on whether they think they should activate the chip now or save it for later. So we're going to compare these 2 scenarios. And obviously, at the end, I will kind of give credits to those people who kind of interacted with me on Instagram and Twitter to give their opinions and bounce ideas with me as well. So let's start off with the group of people who are of the opinion that we should save the assistant manager chip, not use it now, use it later on in 31 or 36. So some of the main reasons that people have cited as why they want to save the chip for later on, whether it's in Game Week 31 to have it through until Double Game Week 33, or activate it in Double Game Week 36 itself instead, are presented here right beside me. So we'll go through one by one, and I'll also talk through a couple of pointers that I have in response to these opinions, whether I agree or disagree with them. So the first one is they don't really like the fixtures for Double Game Week 24 for Liverpool. This is fair enough in that Bournemouth are playing very well. Everton is generally a team that Liverpool kind of struggle a little bit against, mainly because it's the Merseyside derby. So the fans really play a part, and on top of that, it's at Goodison Park, right? So overall, I would say that the fixtures for Double Game Week 24, I agree, are not the best, But I also tend to think that Liverpool right now are playing at a level that is much higher than anyone else, to be honest, in the Premier League. So I would still say that I back them to get wins in these two games. But it's fair enough to say that you don't really like the fixtures, and that's why you don't want to activate the assistant manager chip. The second reason here is also quite relevant in that you can't play two chips at once. Many still have the triple captain chip and they prefer to play the triple captain chip in 24 instead. That's also fair. But I would also say that if you don't really like the fixtures for double game week 24, then maybe you don't think Liverpool score as many goals, and triple captain Salah in 24 may not be the best. But another kind of pointer that they said is that there's not really many double game weeks left to go, which is fair, and you want to just expand the chip with the least upside, which I do agree is the triple captain chip, and use it right now. So that is fair. You can only use one chip in a single game week, so it's okay if you want to use the triple captain chip now. I have no qualms with it. Now, in terms of the third pointer here, people have cited that they prefer Gakpo as the third Liverpool asset for double game week 24, and they think he can cover slot. And basically, if you can do that, they think that they get to save the chip as well. So I'll mainly talk about Gakpo in relation to slot. And I think overall, if your opinion was that this was slightly trickier of a fixture, then in that sense, I do think maybe Gakpo does not do as well in this game. I mean, I know he's the pick that everyone is going for, but I do think if you feel like Liverpool aren't going to score as many goals, maybe he doesn't do as well. But then again, maybe it doesn't push you to go so far as to activate the assistant manager chip on slot. So I get where people are coming from as well. And you also get to save the chip. So this is fair, right? And by the way, as I'm going through all these different pointers, if you feel like you resonate with any of these opinions, then maybe it kind of helps you to decide when you want to use the chip, whether you want to save it for 31, 36, or you want to use it now in 24 instead. So we'll speak about 24 later on. We'll carry on with a couple of pointers here. The next thing, which I think is one of the main benefits here, is that a late assistant manager chip means that you can decide how aggressive you want to be with the chip. So the FPL manager on Twitter that quoted this is actually FPL Gear, and he kind of brought forth the point, right, that playing it late basically lets you assess the rank that you are at that point. If you're at a place where you don't really want to play safe, you feel like you want to push for a higher rank, you can play very aggressive and go for table bonus teams pretty much in every single game week. That is fully possible. But then again, the flip side is also true, where if your rank is pretty good at that point, you want to play safe, you could go for the safe picks like, Liverpool in Arne's slot, for example, or you go for Arteta with easy games. These are also possible different ways to play the chip. And this is the benefit that you would get at the end, where you can choose how aggressive you want to be, as opposed to using it now, where obviously rank can fluctuate very greatly. There's still many game weeks to go, and you don't really know whether you want to play aggressive or be safe. So a late assistant manager gives you that benefit. Next up, the results are more volatile towards the end of the season. This one is historically true as well, because some teams will be on the beach. So nothing really to disagree with this, in that I think it is perfectly fair that if you feel you want to save the chip for later on to kind of target these teams on the beach, it's fair. What I would say is that you have to look at the fixtures though, and try to identify the potential table bonus matches that you might want to target, and then keep close attention to them, obviously, right? And then next up, the second last point I have here is that some people are still counting on a late Spurs/United comeback towards the end of the season. So United, they are a team that you would generally think aren't going to finish at the bottom of the second half of the table. You do think they would start to mount a comeback, obviously, but then again, towards the end of the season, and you compare it to now in double game week 24, things could change. Maybe they already entered the top half of the table. But then again, for Spurs, I think right now they're going through a really tough period, but soon they will have their players back. You would assume that at least by the end of the season, they would have most of their players back, and maybe there's really a case to be made to kind of count on them doing a really, really good job at the end of the season to try and push on for a good position. So it's fair enough. And if you do feel like teams like Spurs and United will come back towards the end of the season, I've had a look at the fixtures, and there are possible opportunities where they will be eligible for table bonus. just by the nature of where they're at this point, right? So it's fully possible, but again, subject to where they are at that point when you try to play the chip. Now, lastly, the last point that someone brought up to me in terms of why they want to save the chip is that they intend to make manager transfers when they play the assistant manager chip. So maybe this manager who brought forth this opinion intends to switch it around each game week of the 3 game weeks. You want to have a different manager. Fair enough. You have your own strategies. And in terms of weighing up the value of the transfers, he feels like transfers made now for the longer term, and therefore they're worth more. It's fair enough. Maybe you don't wildcard too soon. You bring in a player now, maybe you keep him for at least 6 to 8 game weeks. But then in the future, say for example, you activate the chip in game week 36. Then you make transfers then as well, on the manager, of course. Using the transfers on the manager as opposed to using the transfer on the outfielder may not cost you as much because you're not going to have that player for as long of a period of time. So I have a little bit of a different perspective on this, right? So basically the value of transfers, it's fair enough that you think right now they are made for the longer term and therefore they're worth more. But I would like to say that the transfers in the future are also pretty valuable, and come the time you're at a season where there's lots of doubles and blanks to deal with, I would say that there is a lot of value in transfers then as well. So I have a little bit more different opinion as compared to this, but I do get the point that transfers are scarce as well, and you want to be in a position where you want to use transfers every single week on your manager. That is fair, right? So generally, these are the pointers that people have put forth as to why they want to save the chip and use it later on instead. Let's now have a look at a couple of reasons to use the chip now in Double Game Week 24. So looking at some reasons to use the Assistant Manager chip now in Double Game Week 24, I am in this camp and I have the Assistant Manager chip activated now on RNA slot. I'll speak through a couple of different strategies right beside me here that have been put forth either by myself or different opinions that I've heard from the community. Firstly, we get the chip out of the way. So I think sometimes this can be read with a negative connotation in that we're not really making use of the chip. So I've decided to spell out a couple of benefits. So using the chip now in Double Game Week 24, firstly, in future when I wildcard, I don't need to factor in saving money to buy a manager. That is something that those who save the chip for either Double Game Week 36 or in Game Week 31 likely have to do, or somehow they need to spend transfers here and there to free up money. So that's something that they will have to deal with later on. If I do use the chip now and I get it out of the way in that sense, then I will be able to, save myself that headache later on. So that's one, that future wildcards can be focused on, attacking the doubles, focus on my 15 players. Maybe I want to bench boost as well. I will be laser focused on that. I don't have to account for other things. Next, the possibility of Double Game Week 25 for Tottenham and Fulham. Now, this will only be confirmed after the Double Game Week 24 deadline. There is a potential that we might get a provisional announcement in the next couple of days before the Double Game Week 24 deadline. Let's see. But as of recording, there's no news so far, and it still obviously hinges on a couple of things, right? Spurs staying in the top 8 of the Europa League and also winning Liverpool in the AFL Cup. They're currently on a 1-0 lead right now, but the next game is at Anfield. So there's a slim chance that Double Game Week 25 happens. But if it does, those who are on the Assistant Manager chip in Game Week 24 would have it also activated for 25, and we basically make an extra fixture. So that's another benefit there, though the chance is slightly lower. Next up, there's good table bonus games in Game Week 25 and Game Week 26. So basically in 25, I think the main one that people are looking at is the Marco Silva Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest obviously just coming off a 5-0 loss against Bournemouth. So that's mainly why people are looking at this table bonus game for Fulham. And also Fulham are playing at home, right? So that's in Game Week 25. In Game Week 26, there are also a couple of games you could go for. Leicester versus Brentford, Ruud van Nistelrooy. There's also Ipswich versus Spurs, Kieran McKenna that you can go for. So they are good table bonus games. By the same token as well, there are good safe games, I guess you could call them, in Arteta versus West Ham. So there's perfectly viable table bonus as well as safe games that you could attack in 25 and 26. So value is there to be gotten. And lastly, I'm confident of Liverpool getting wins. Bournemouth away, Everton away is not an ideal double. But I would also say that Liverpool right now, I am pretty confident of them still coming away from both games with wins. But right now, we don't really know who scores. And if, say, for example, I go for Gakpo, I'm expecting that say 75 minutes per game. And if he doesn't return in those games, Arne Slot could very well still come away with points if overall Liverpool still win, and I'm confident that will be the case as well. So that's not to say that Gakpo can't get returns. I think that's fully possible as well, but that's a trade-off right now that I'm making on an assistant manager on Slot in 24. So that's roughly the points that I have here. And talking through a couple of strategies, the safe strategy I would say is to go on Slot in 24 and then move over to Arteta in 26 when Arsenal have West Ham. So that's definitely the safest way to play the chip, in that you're backing the teams historically, at least for this season, that have performed well and generally we know are the top sides. So if you want to go a little bit more balanced and have weeks where you're playing on a manager that is really from a strong team, but also try to target table bonus as well during this run of 3 game weeks that you have, I have 2 strategies that I think worth considering. Firstly, you could stay on Slot, but in 26, instead of going Arteta, you go slightly more aggressive. You go on Ruud van Nistelrooy against Brentford, or you go Kieran McKenna versus Tottenham. So that's, starting with a safe manager and then going for table bonus after in 26. The other way is that you could flip it around. You could go in 24 now with Moyes. You have the Leicester fixture, and then you're pretty much backing Everton to at least get a draw against Liverpool in the second game of the double that they have right now in 24. Then after that, you move to Areola and basically have Bournemouth for their next 2 fixtures, which are really good. Southampton and Wolves is really, really good for Bournemouth. And obviously, Iraola just got 13 points in game week 23 when Bournemouth won Nottingham Forest 5-0. Right, so definitely could see that paying off, and that would, I guess, be the safe fixture in that sense, right? So those are 2 balanced approach that you could go for, but I think if you want to go full aggressive and target table bonus at least every single week, then you could obviously go Moyes in 24, get the double of Leicester and Liverpool, and then in 25 you have Marco Silva against Forest, and then in 26 you can decide between Leicester or Ipswich by going for Ruud van Nistelrooy or Kieran McKenna. So different strategies right now, and the reason why I brought it up as well with these different strategies is because the camp of people who are keen on double game week 24 assistant manager are also pretty split in going for either Slot or Moyes. So let me know in the comments down below, if you are on assistant manager 24, who do you currently have the assistant manager chip on, right? And let's wrap up the video with this last section. So I wanted to end off this video by giving credit to all the managers that I've interacted with, whether it's on Instagram or on Twitter, to kind of basically share different opinions, bounce ideas with, and therefore allow me to come up with today's video. So all the managers that you see right beside me here, full credits to all of them in their opinions that they've shared. And I would like to say overall that the assistant manager chip is a new chip and we are all figuring out the best strategy for it. The fact of the matter is that it was only released this season. We can only form our own opinions, our own predictions of what's going to happen, and therefore guess when is the best time to use it. It's obviously very team dependent, but I would say when you've watched this video to this point, which opinions that you've seen on the screen with the different pointers that I've had, you resonate with the most, you can obviously choose that strategy, right? So no strategy is, the best. It's very team dependent, I would say. And also, I feel hearing from different people just pretty much allows us to cover as many bases or different perspectives that maybe we haven't considered. So hopefully this video helped you guys in your own decision making of when you want to use the chip. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do drop a like, please do subscribe, and I will catch you guys in more Game Week 24 content coming very soon. Bye bye.